Here we go. GM, everyone.
GM, everyone. So, uh, welcome back to another episode of Coffee Chat at Alchemy. Uh, First off, thanks for all the support on our very first video, and huge shout out to Albert for being the very first guest on the show. Um, if you saw the
Albert.
last episode, yeah, everyone at Alchemy misses him. Um, But yeah, if you saw our last episode, you would know that these sessions were actually hosted by two very amazing people who I consider to be my mentors. The first one is, of course, Albert. And the second one, today, we have Vitto Rivabella. Let's give it up for Vitto.
Hi
Yay.
there, everyone.
Yes.
GM, thank you very much for having me. Such a pleasure to being in a hosted session on Alchemy University. That's kind of mind blowing.
Yeah,
Hey T,
amazing,
I
man.
see GDG, I see Jonathan, I see Shine. Hey
Yes.
everyone, thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, everyone's here. Everyone's here. So Keto is actually the reason why I even started in Web3. Like back in 2021, during the lockdowns, I was sort of looking into web development. And I remember reading one of Peter's tweets on Twitter on Web3. And at the time, I hadn't heard of the term Web3. So I was like, oh, this seems interesting enough. Let's check it out. And well, the rest is history. So thank you so much for being here, Vito.
Of course, thank you for
It's
your words. I think everything I do since the last 2 years to today, it's been just to onboard people into Web3 and make Web3 more understood. It's kind of very complex topic, right? So everyone, I still receiving this question. It's like, oh wow, your company is in crypto coins and in NFTs. I'm like, yeah, sort of. That's not the only thing. So super happy that you joined Web3. Super happy that you had the braveness of actually exploring this very criticized space that actually can bring a lot of satisfaction, a lot of value. And yeah, thank you again for having me here.
yeah, I mean it's all thanks to you and Albert in the first place. So like how I got my start via your Web3 content, right? So like you have been making Web3 content for a while now, Twitter threads, blogs.
Mhm.
So I'm sort of wondering how you got your start in the Web3 space or in the tech space in general.
That's a question I love because my journey is kind of eclectic. So what happened is that I studied psychology at the high school. So completely different track. I wanted to become a therapist. I wanted to hear people talking and help them solve their life issues. Growing up completely changed my mind and I really started feeling like an artist. So it was like super artisty. I had really long hairs. It was kind of crazy. Ange. So I don't know. My internet might be a little bit lucky. I see, or might be StreamYard. But let me know if you're hearing me fine and if you're seeing me fine. Otherwise, we'll solve the problem. Anyway, I had really long hairs. I was super hippie with my poncho on and like my pendants. So I started studying at the Academy of no, false. I want to do a master in computer graphic and animation. So I was a 3D artist, environments. I was working in the gaming industry. I was creating digidoubles for the movie industry. I started working in studios. Some of the studios I started working on were like Guerrilla and so on and so forth. And then what happened is that I started developing tools for digital animators. While I was working as a developer for digital animators, I was wondering, wow, is that what I want to do? Is that like, do I want to work in these like very gigantic teams, 500 people, where everything is so unpredictable? I kind of started to feel more passionate. I don't know. I needed something more stable in my life. And that stable thing at a certain point was like coding and math. It's kind of crazy. And so what I did is that I resigned from my full-time job. I had an amazing job. And I don't know if you know the situation in Europe, in Italy specifically, when it's south of Europe, but the job market is not in the best era, right? So it's really hard to find a job. You're amazing, Chinka. Super happy that you can hear and see me. The job market is not the best of all. So when I decided to resign, I went to my dad and my mom and I was like, Mom, Dad, I decided to resign from my super well-paid job and go back to university. I literally saw my dad becoming completely white, jaw dropped. It was like, are you sure? Is that your plan? I was like, yes, Dad, trust me. I have a plan. I definitely want your help. Anyway, I dropped off from there, and I went studying computer science in Scotland. I did 2 years there in this amazing course, IBM. And then after I learned a lot. I met this amazing woman that is Sarah Drasner, the director of web technologies at Google, I think, at the moment. Well, she was at least director of web technologies at Google. So very big brain. She was a content creator on Twitter, and I started creating content on Twitter. So it was about web development. Context, coming from an artist background, I was in the engineering world. My job, my main mission was translating these like super heavy worded pieces of documentation into human readable stuff. It worked well. Turns out that a lot of people don't understand documentation. Turns out that a lot of engineers don't know how to write documentation. And turns out that sometimes engineers know how to write documentation, but they make it harder just because they want to feel smarter. That's true. This is ego. And so it started working really, really well. In the meantime, a synchronous situation, my best friend 4 years ago started trading cryptos. And it was like, dude, this is mind blowing. Oh my God, it's the coin of the future. Everyone will use these duck fiats. We only want Bitcoin and Ethereum. I was like, okay, maybe. My dad is a bank guy. I really think this is a bubble and a scam and it will never work. So no, thank you. That's not for me. But he's my best friend, and he kept on like bothering me. Sorry, Jack, bothering me for like 3 years. And I was like, okay, Jack, you know what? I'm gonna try it. So I remember I bought Polkadot. My first crypto coin was Polkadot. And then I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting. Let me see what's the development part, what's the engineering part, how does it work? So I started digging deeper, and I deployed my first ERC20. And it was completely mind blown. And I was like, wow, this is a total game changer. Yes, probably part of it is a scam. Yes, part of it probably is a bubble. Yes, there are a lot of bad people in the world. But if you remove all of these, if you filter all the bad people, if you remove the scams, the technology itself is freaking game changing, because you can bring the same financial tools, the same financial capabilities, privileges to everyone in the world without the need for complex bureaucracies and government systems that are not scalable to the space humanity is going, no? Right? So I was completely mind blown. I started doing the same on Twitter, creating content about Web3. And I think it was August 2021 when Elan, my amazing project manager, wrote me a message on Twitter. It was like, hey, do you wanna collaborate? I remember because I read the message a couple of weeks ago, and it was like, do you want to collaborate? I was like, you know what? No, I want to apply. So I applied there, and then I applied to Chainlink and Polygon, and it was completely mind blowing because I had 3 months of interviews. It was just interviews for 3 months. And then went great, decided to join Alchemy because, of course, their team is super great and the vibes were amazing. The products they were building, super smart people. And yeah, that's my journey from, I think, high school to Alchemy.
Yeah, I think my favorite part was explaining crypto to a banker guy, your dad, basically. I think that
Impossible.
was the hardest part for you. But yeah,
I
like,
still try to avoid the topic with my father.
but to be honest, I had a similar start to yours. During the lockdown, I was like, just chilling, gaming with my friends, and one of my friends actually, I think, told me about Dogecoin, and he was like, "Yo, you know what? You should buy this, and you're gonna make a shit ton of money and stuff like that." I was like, "Yeah, okay, maybe I'll give it a try." So yeah, I think that's how I started, and then I sort of explored Chainlink, and yeah, stuff like that. But yeah, super amazing how you got your start. Like, definitely inspirational. Like, jumping from uh, graphic designing to Web3, it's like a huge leap. Um,
I think the only, if I was the person hearing my story, I think the only takeout I would like to get is I had my full time job, right? If I wanted, I could have stayed there and live my life. Probably at a certain point, maybe also buy a house. I didn't get much money, of course, but maybe also buy a house. But then there was this question myself that is like, okay, do I want to risk everything in favor of maybe? Of course, I need to have faith in myself. I need, there is my consistency in game, there is my willingness, inspiration, consistency, and whatever we want in game. But do I want to put everything at risk for a better future, right? to build something better. And I did this reasoning when I left the Academy of Fine Arts the first time after 2 years. I did this reasoning when I resigned from my super cool movie job. I did this reasoning when I dropped off from the CS program in Scotland. And the reason is, all of these things, all of your journey is not written in stone, right? It's really more about you, what you know about yourself, what you know you can do, you want to do, what is your vision for the future. So I think it's kind of brave, that part, more than graphic design to development. That, yes, it's cool, it's funny, because at the end of the day I can like be full stack developer and sort of like not create the worst websites in the world. But definitely that being brave in life and leaving your comfort zone and saying, "Duck it, I want to do it, and I don't care if no one trusts me." That's what makes the difference, folks. 100%.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. So for this episode, I sort of want to jump back to the very basics. So like, what is Web3, and why should people actually care about it?
I didn't know you were asking this question. So the answer to this question, sorry, just to answer a question I'm seeing in the right-hand side from Stefano. How old were you when you signed for my job? I resigned from my job during the pandemic. I think it was 2020, September 2020. And I was 20. How old am I today? 23. I was 22. I am 26. Yeah, I don't know. Lots of things happened in the last few years. I hope this is the answer. Anyway, more or less everything happened in the last 6 years, and I'm completely mind blown. Anyway,
but yeah, quitting your job in the middle of the pandemic, that's next level.
Don't do it. Like, when you see these videos, like professional at work. Exactly. Don't do it. Like, do your own research. Don't follow this. If you want to do this though. Don't let anyone tell you what you should do. That's really important. Only the law. Remember. Anyway, completely different question. What is Web3? The question is one, and is what is Web3? The answer really depends on the person that is asking me. Let's say you're Ansh. So you're an engineer, and let's start from this. What is Web3? Web3 is a set of technologies that allow people to exchange value on the internet. What does it mean? Well, until now, we used to use payment providers to allow us to exchange value on the internet, and this value was mainly consistent in money. And also there is a part where we were talking about digital goods. Let's talk about money first. When you talk about money, there is a lot of regulations in place in the real world, right? Fiat are regulated by central banks are regulated by economy, and of course big companies and multinationals. So there is a lot of interest going on. They are not universal, so no fiat is universal. There is the dollar that is used in almost every country in the world just as a counter value for their own currencies. But other than that, Europe has euro, India as INR, America as USD, pesos, Venezuela, and so on and so forth. So in every part of the world, there is a different fiat and different bank system. And this is not just, oh my God, different names and different brands. No, this is a completely different way of living. Because if you try to send your money in Palestine, or if you try to, I don't know, go on Gumroad and try to buy something on Gumroad from, I don't know, is it available in India right now?
I don't think so.
Yeah, you see, right? So a lot of people use Gumroad, and I have a lot of Indian friends that are content creators and sell on Gumroad, but they cannot sell to their friends because Gumroad is not available in India. Why Gumroad is not available in India? Well, simple thing is that the payment provider they used to use or they're using is not available in India because the regulations are super strict, and they're not available in many other countries. You can see where they are available. So as an engineer, my answer is using Web3 technologies and blockchain technologies. You're removing the problem of single fault tolerance. So you don't have anymore a single place where your data gets stored. You can tell me, yes, there is geo redundancy, and I'm like, yes, it's freaking expensive and still the same company. So there are problems there. We can get deeper. I understand any counter opinion on that. I'm not going too in depth into this, but let's keep it for good. As good that being decentralized means using different computers scattered all over the world, and this makes things easier to keep your data protected, and also harder under other perspectives. But thanks to cryptography, that is part of the blockchain and decentralization decentralized infrastructures, your data is more secured. On top of that, it's more open. So let's think about an API that is open to everyone. So all the data is accessible from everyone, and the challenge is not anymore about how much data I can get. That actually establishes this like sort of seek mechanisms on how can I get more data than the others, and what are the worst ways or like the sketchiest ways I can get data. But it's more about, so it's not about the data anymore, about this run to the data, but it's more about building amazing user experiences and how this data gets used. Also, having shared data all across the world means that research is faster, means that data exchange is faster because you can use P2P technologies and so on and so forth. Again, I'm answering to an engineer in this case, okay? So I'm giving for granted that P2P is clear, that decentralized infrastructures are clear, that geo-redundancy is clear. So this would be my answer for Web3. Set of technologies to build value exchange on internet and decentralized infrastructures to keep your data more protected. And sometimes it's actually even more cheaper to host your files. Second answer is a person that is not a technical person or is not even an artist, okay? But just run, my mom that comes to me and is like, Vitto, she doesn't call me Vitto, she calls me Kiko. This is so funny. Vitto, Vitto, what are you doing? What's your job? And this happens once a week since I started working at Alchemy, and every time I have the same answer. She forgets, but it's okay. And the answer is, I work in the blockchain, and blockchain, think about all the computers in the world, okay? I think if all these computers were connected to each other, also banks' computers were connected to each other, so there's no more central control, so no one can control anything. Everyone has the same data, everyone has the proof over the same data, and not getting into consensus mechanisms, and everyone can share the same data. We call data also value. So when you go to your ATM, you withdraw money, right? But there's not like a box in the bank with all your money inside, and when you're withdrawing for the ATM, they're pulling from your like box, and once you finish your money in the box, there's no money. No, that's not how it works. These money are numbers in a database, right? So this database is kept safe by banks because no one else is entitled to assess that a certain amount of value has been exchanged between two parties, right? Because no one else can take a look on the bank's databases to check if there's actual transactions are happening. With the blockchain, this doesn't happen anymore because everyone has access to this immense database that we can use, and we can exchange value to each other, and you can exchange value even where banks are not there. So think about sending money to, again, your friends in Venezuela. Plus, if this person is a little bit informed about what is going on in the world, there's also the component of this is an amazing way to give people power, economical power back. Think about the people in Venezuela, right? People in Venezuela are suffering huge inflation rates. So we're talking about like 97.3% inflation rate. This is incredibly like strong inflation rate. If you get 100 pesos, you lose 95.7 pesos a year. If you do anything, your prices will double next year, right? How people in Venezuela are solving this issue, they're saving money in USD dollars. The problem is because they started saving money in USD dollars, so they started swapping their pesos into USD, the value of the pesos was dropping drastically even more. So the government was like, no, you cannot do that anymore. You know what you can do? You can save up to 100 pesos, $100 a month in pesos. And they were like, well, with $100 a month, I don't really do anything, so I better save in USDC. And USDC is a stable coin that is pegged against the dollar. So it's like a 101 pegged. What's the name? Okay, the name is going away. But anyway, it's a 101 pegged to the dollar. So for every USDC, you have $1. And they're saving this money. There is no regulations. So they're actually not losing all their money because of inflation. Last but not least, to the artist, is a way to finally monetize your freaking art. And as an artist, I can tell you, it's a struggle. It's a freaking struggle. Now there is AI that is another like threat, but on top of that, I have tons of friends that are artists that have monetized thanks to Web3 and the ability to exchange value without going through big payments providers or yeah. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I think
it's a lot of things.
yeah,
Web3 is a lot
definitely. No, I think you also answered my third question, but yeah, artists have definitely gotten boost from Web3, that's for sure. But like you were saying, I think when you try to explain Web3 to someone who has no knowledge about the blockchain technology or has never heard of it, they immediately sort of associate it with Bitcoin, NFT, or any shit coin or meme token
Mhm.
from that's out there in the media outlets. And I think this sort of trifecta, like Bitcoin, NFT, and shitcoins, have painted the entire Web3 slash blockchain community in sort of a definitely scam manner. Um, so, how do you think we would go on about improving our sort of image when it comes to that?
That's a really, really good question. And it happens a lot. This mania phase, it's called, happens a lot in every new technology. So if you look back at the dot-com bubble, for example, there were a lot of projects that promised a lot of money to everyone and prosperity for everyone. But were at the end of the day just a scam. So the overall sentiment and vibes in early 2000 and late 90s against the dot-com bubble was really bad, right? Everyone was like, no, this will never work. And that's kind of the reason why not everyone becomes rich or builds amazing companies during these beer markets and these like negative sentiment moments towards the technology. The answer to how we will work to reestablish our name, that's a very hard answer. That comes from different things. First of all, comes from education. So how do people get more educated in interacting with this technology, right? So we started with the 2021 flood tsunami. It was a tsunami of people that got into Web3 and started trading tokens. They weren't reading their signature. They didn't know anything about how yields work. They thought that 1,000% yield was perfectly normal, thumbs up, nothing is weird here. I'm just gonna make a shit ton of money out of nowhere because life is amazing. People realized that that wasn't the case, and if you don't know the source of the yield, probably you are the yield. That's how it works. um, on top of that, people weren't used to anything in Web3, right? So that's education. And are we solving these? Well, we have things like Alchemy University that is more oriented towards developers. My BFF is an amazing NFT collection. They created these Web3 beginner series that teaches you what is an NFT, how to read your transactions, how to do XYZ. So education is very, very important. Technologies, that's another thing. More developers working in the ecosystem and creating better solutions. We had this amazing space with Nader, Eric Tang, and Frank Digod on Tuesday on Twitter, of course. And we were talking about decentralized social medias. And the thing is, no Web3 product, like TLDR of this Giga conversation that was super interesting. If you didn't attend the space, please go on our profile at Alchemy University and check the space is recorded. TLDR of that conversation is no Web3 product will succeed against any Web2 product just because it's Web3. That's called activism. Okay. Your marketplace, your decentralized Gumroad, your decentralized Spotify, your decentralized Twitter, they won't work just because they're decentralized, because the target of decentralization is not humanity, it's just a small group of people. What will win against Web2? If there is this battle doesn't even exist. But what will make Web3 enabled products mainstream is the product. It's solving problems. So how do we solve real problems? Last year, we weren't solving problems. Last year, we were creating amazing art sometimes. I've seen amazing NFTs collections that I had goosebumps. I was like, oh my God, the artist is so good. I've seen a lot of shit. We all seen that. We all seen the crypto Pokemons, right? We all seen these crazy NFTs collections coming out and be like, what is going on here? And that's not the answer. This year, we're focusing on something different. We're not focusing on the profile pictures. We're focusing, for example, at Alchemy, we're focusing on making transactions readable. We just published the transaction simulation. That is an API that allows you to pass the transaction hash and get the asset changes. And what do I mean by that is you say, I'm going to do this transaction, and the API will tell you, okay, if you do this transaction, this is going to happen to your wallet. Do you really want to do this transaction? So it's way easier. Before it was like, okay, I'm going to do this transaction, and MetaMask was like, okay, if you do this transaction, 0, 1, 2, 6, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 4, and you were like, yes, that makes total sense. Thank you, MetaMask. So making Web3 more user friendly, that's another thing, and this will actually solve again the problem of scams. And then regulations. That's another big point. Web3 decentralization is not synonym to anarchy. Absence of central point of failure, absence of central organism of control is not anarchy. Doesn't mean anarchy. Anarchy is total absence of rules, imposed rules. Now, I'm not an anarchist. I won't talk about anarchy as a concept, and I will answer the question in a few seconds. I won't talk as anarchy as a context, but this won't work in a world where you exchange in value. Not in the way humans are made nowadays. Not in the way our cultures, all of our cultures work in regards of money. Okay, it might work in another world, in a parallel universe. In our world, that would be detrimental. So what we need is decentralized control. Decentralized control, it means is a control that is not governed by any single identity, but single identities, single control identities. And folks, yes, I mean governments, I mean police, I mean like real people that are ensuring since the last, I don't know, like 1,000 years that rule sometimes, not always, of course, they do their mistakes, are getting like, respected. So these mechanisms where, I don't know, my brother is a lawyer in the European Prosecutor Office. So it works in big legal cases, not international big cases. And whenever there is a blockchain problem, they cannot do much because they have no idea who's 0x4b4, right? 0x4b4 has no name, and that's a problem. That's not only a problem for my brother that needs to investigate. It's a problem also for the DAO that doesn't know if that person, if that wallet is owned by the same person. These like 100 wallets are owned by the same person, and a Sybil attack is going on. So empowering security, empowering Sybil resistance, empowering digital identities, empowering a more controlled decentralization. So these are three things: better tools, better education, more control, more decentralized control. That is really hard to achieve.
Yeah, I think that really makes sense. I just want to take a quick question from the chat. Someone said, if I can find their comment. Okay, so why are Web3 UX so bad that these scams sort of run rampant?
That's a very good question. Because value exchange is hard and people are not used to it, and the internet is an awful place. I mean, okay, let me take 1,000 steps back. We're not educated. So let me take 2 steps back. Do you remember when Amazon started becoming a thing? And people, actually not just Amazon, but like using your credit card online started becoming a thing. And your parents, I don't know, my parents at least, were like, no. Don't put your credit card online because people will see your money.
Yeah.
And that was the rule, right? Like once every 3 times you put your credit card up there, you got, I don't know, $500 accredited on your account, like withdrawn on your account because you know, I don't know, you put your card in a place you shouldn't have. And then after a couple of years, Amazon came and it made credit card payments a little bit more secure. And now today, honestly, like my card is literally everywhere around the world, and I'm not getting any like random withdrawal on my account. So what is the thing there? The first thing is that you need experience, and that experience means first users needs experience that probably they shouldn't put their credit cards in very sketchy websites. That means users should understand that probably they shouldn't sign transactions on sketchy websites. But the connection is not straightforward, right? When you start using MetaMask, it looks like a game. It looks like, oh my God, I have my points on my wallet, even if those points costing me $500 or $500,000. These are points. They're just gonna sign, and then you're like 0, and you're like, holy moly, I'm at 0. So that's problems. Humans are a problem here. Second, it's harder in a way that when you create a Web2 website, 99% of the times, or you have a very big team that you have in which you have user experience, like user UX designers, UI designers, and developers, backend developer, and everything developer, and CTO, project manager, agile, scrum master. You have everything. Have you ever seen a Web3 team? Honestly, like, okay, like 99.9% of the teams out there are like 5 super smart folks, of which they perfectly know what they're doing, but they 100% of the time like no designers. And when they have a designer, then they have an amazing user experience, and you notice that. So I would say 99% of the teams compared to Web2 don't have the resources that a Web2 team would have. That's another point. Libraries, same thing. They don't have the resources. They don't even have the help that a Web2 developer would have. If you need to do a drag and drop component, you don't need to code everything. Trust me, you don't need to check the position of your mouse. You need to install React Drop Zone on your project, and you have a React drag and drop component. If you need to create, I don't know, a staking application, there's no library that will do that for you. No way. You need to build everything from scratch, and that requires more time and is prone to more errors and more user experiences errors. So I think it's both. It's very young technology. People are not educated enough. The second one, people not educated will stop autonomously. The first one, we need to onboard more developers.
Yeah, that sounds great. Huge shout out to the Designers Guild at Alchemy University. But I sort of want to get over to the Alchemy University part. So, Alchemy University has sort of bought everything under one roof, everything that you need to sort of start your Web3 career. JavaScript fundamentals, Ethereum bootcamp, and of course, Road to Web3, a 10-week project-based program. I imagine it would have been very different when you were getting started in Web3, like, scouring resources over the internet, referring to YouTube videos and stuff like that. But how do you see Web3 changing the education system over the internet?
I love this question as well. It's a really, really good question. So our education system, that's actually a broader question. It's like education systems in the world, kind of complex. I would try to stay focused on Web3, and the short answer is for sure, completely. But it's not just Web3 that is changing this thing. We came to a point where, like our governments, education is not scalable, and technology moves too fast for these central organizations, central entities like universities or curriculums, like standard curriculums. Think about this. Today you have ChatGPT. Okay, that sounds silly, but it's true that a lot of students are using it to complete their tests and go through their tests and earning their diplomas, degrees, whatever certifications they're getting. On top of that, these courses are super freaking expensive in a moment where resources are almost freely accessible on the internet. Plus, sometimes they're also too slow. They go slower because they need to feed hundreds of students at the same time, right? So you have the person that is more fast, so is faster at learning math. You have the person that is faster at learning art, but they might not be faster at learning each other's subjects, right? You cannot ask a monkey to swim against a fish. You cannot ask a fish to climb against a monkey. That's not a game, right? So there are many different things that do not work in the current education system. Now, what the education system gives is, and I'm doing this aside just to come to arrive to the point about Alchemy University. What this educational system does and gives is the network. That's super important. And in many cases, actually worth the whole taxes and payments and money that you give the universities, because you meet amazing people that will introduce you to other amazing people and you will land amazing jobs. Boom, that's amazing. Now, what Web3 did is they started with already the network. They were like, okay, we're literally 50K people. And in this group of 50K people, there are CEOs, there are CTOs, there are the biggest investors in the world. There are like everyone. Okay, they're really here. What don't we have, though, is a curriculum of things to teach. Right? When I started, there was no such thing like Alchemy University. There was no such thing like Learn Web3 DAO. There was no such thing like any other educational provider I can think of in Web3. And so we were like, okay, We have the community, but the community is not educated. So let's create something that can educate the community and can onboard the community into Web3 and give them what universities are doing. But universities are also super expensive, and the quality of many of these universities, especially in some places in the world, are not that high. So let's create the top highest quality thing. So to answer your question, Web3 has taken this like network that was the UVP of universities and added on top of this the fact of, okay, I will teach you, but teaching is not something you should pay. It's me, I should reward you because you're investing your time in changing your life, right? You're investing your time in building better products for the humanity. You're investing more time. And if you become a better human, a more educated human, if you become a human that knows how to develop in Web3, we will all win because we'll build better technologies, right? So is this possible for medicine? And I don't know, medicine? No, probably you cannot become a doctor with an online university hoping that will work. Probably there were no Web3 like courses that will pay you to earn how to do surgeries. That won't work. But for all things tech that you can actually do online, you can do remote, and actually like very low resource intensive in a way that you literally just need a laptop and internet and you're good to go. Well, then probably there are better ways to learn, better ways to teach, better ways to change the life of people that otherwise wouldn't be able to access this kind of like educational programs.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Um, so another question from the viewers is, so how else can humans learn aside from the hard way? Won't the average person read a headline saying user scam for 2 million and be turned off from crypto? And I sort of want to add to this question. So, do you think the recent bear market conditions or the controversies like the whole FTX fiasco have affected the Web3 community, more specifically developers, in any way?
So answering the first question, so how else can humans learn aside from the other way? When the average person read the headline say yes. That's super bad, folks. Like, let me be honest with you. When the FTX fiasco happened, we weren't happy. But not because we felt like dirty or we felt like, oh my God, the whole things that we're working on is a scam. No, that's of course is not the thing. The thing is, every time something like that happen, in a moment where we're trying to educate everyone that Web3 is not just cryptos and NFTs, then the media, of course, the only thing they focus on is when FTX, for example, explodes. So everyone will start saying again, oh, you see, Web3 is all the scam because there are no regulations and so on and so forth. So yes, that's a big problem. Now, sorry, your question, your more precise question was?
So, like, do you think the recent bear market conditions or
Have
the whole FTX
affected
fiasco?
developers?
Yeah.
Short answer is no. And what do I mean by that? They affected users, but developers that actually know about the technology didn't really care about that. They didn't really actually. If you look at Nansen or if you look at our queue for developer report that we post on Twitter every 4 months, of course, we take a look in depth at the current Web3 market, how many developers there are, how many smart contracts there are, how many decentralized applications, users, total value locked, and so on and so forth. And I'll be honest, this is growing steadily since ever. It never stopped growing. There was like a little dip at the start of 2022, but that completely normalized towards the second half. So builders themselves are actually growing in numbers by a lot, and smart contracts deployed on chain are growing in number. But that's really, really healthy. And think about this. It's very similar to when you have a newsletter, right? Is it better to have a newsletter with 200,000 subscribers, but I don't know, like an open rate of 3%, or a newsletter of 50,000 subscribers and an open rate of 30%? Well, probably the second one, right? 30% open rate, less subscribers. So you want less users, you want less developers, but you want the ones that are really passionate about creating the tools that we were talking about before. The tools that will make the user experience better, that will allow people to not learn the hard way, but to allow people that will to read their transactions and so on and so forth. Otherwise, we're leaving all the developers that are developing these scam NFTs collections, and we're surprised. Oh my God, this company again. And we're like, yeah. Actually, this beer market, the first 6 months of this beer market, the second 6 months of this beer market were actually superfluous, probably. But the first 6 months of this beer market were actually so much needed because they wiped out so many projects that, of course, they didn't expect to live forever, right?
Sort of the exact answer I wanted to hear, that it did not affect any developers at all. Um, but yeah, so like getting back to the topic of how to get started in Web3. Uh, like if you had to start over from the scratch, get into Web3, how would you do it?
How would I start Web3? Very good question. So I have two ways to answer this question as well, because I have the old school Italian way, I would call it, and the new age guy. So the new age guy is like, okay, folks, let's start with JavaScript. Okay, understand HTML. You definitely understand. So first, oh my God, let me take no. I need to go 5 steps back. It really depends what you want to learn in Web3. As every
Right.
other space, there are so many things. Do you want to become a smart contract developer? Then you don't need to learn JavaScript, and you can just hop on learning Solidity or Solana, Rust. If you want to learn programs for Solana, and start learn that, start writing your smart contracts. Of course, there are like good courses like Alchemy University, so university.alchemy.com, and will teach you everything from scratch. Now, or you want to become an auditor, and then you will probably want to learn security. Now, if you never done anything, so if you never declared a function or a variable in your life, initialize a variable in your life, then probably you want to start a little easier, because otherwise it's like, I don't know, starting lifting 100 kilograms right away. This doesn't make sense. So you start with something easier. That's JavaScript probably. And again, Alchemy University has a course, but there are a tons of courses online about JavaScript. There's one I love from Angela Hu on Udemy. She's like an ex-surgeon and now is an amazing web developer. And I learned
Right.
from her courses. So Udemy, Angela Hu, web development track, or completely for free on Alchemy University, university.alchemy.com/JavaScript. You will find the bootcamp. So you learn that, and then you start moving your first steps into building your first probably applications without Web3. Let's get comfortable with like normal applications. Then once you are comfortable building your like to-do app, your stuff, whatever you think you would like to build, there are tons of beginner like projects online. You can start implementing Web3 libraries and understanding what is Web3, what is Solidity, what are smart contracts. And again, to do that, you can follow Alchemy University. We have the Ethereum bootcamp. It's a 7 weeks fully fledged course that is kind of also not really complex, but adds on complexity week by week. So definitely that would be the answer. And then after that is practice and practice and practice. Now, I really feel like Web3 and Solidity are kind of delicate in many ways.
Mhm.
So let me divide once now that we have said all these things, the roles in Web3. In a Web3 team that is developing a full stack Web3 decentralized application, you have Solidity smart contract engineer. That is the one that is writing the smart contracts. If you want to become that person, I wouldn't suggest either to go straight into Solidity. I would say start learning C#, C++, or C-like language. I know it sounds kind of silly because they're very complex, but they will teach you a lot on how computers work and how memory works. And all these things are very, very important when you then need to go more complex into smart contracts like memory saving and Gauss efficiency and speed efficiency and so on and so forth. So that's super important. So we have the smart contract developer who say C-like language and then Solidity or Rust, and you learn these things. Then you have the front-end developer, right? Front-end developer, you need a front-end stack that is the same as Web2. That can be React, Next.js, Vue, Nuxt.js, Vite, Svelte, whatever you want. I really suggest React and Next.js, but I'm a fanboy. I really suggest actually to use a tool that we're going to publish. This is a big alpha. Oh my God. If you write
Oh.
npx create web free app, if you write npx create web free app on your terminal, decentralized application will be created for you. But that's not a suggestion. That's not an advice. Anyway, Next.js, React, Ether.js, Alchemy SDK, all of these are the things that you will need. Sorry, Next.js, React, and a styling framework. And then you need to add the Web3 component. The Web3 component is usually Ethers. That is the more modern one. Then there is Alchemy SDK that wraps Ethers and also as Alchemy's enhanced APIs. Or there is Web3.js that I don't really suggest. I love the guys at it's called Chainstack, I think, that developed that. Yeah, the guys at Chainstack, they developed an amazing tool. Was one of the first RPC libraries, but is a little bit outdated compared to Ethers, in my opinion. So go for it. And then last but not least, you definitely will have probably a backend developer. Because folks, creating a decentralized application doesn't mean removing the database or removing the backend. Most of the times, if you look at OpenSea, they have a backend. If you look at Uniswap, they have a backend for the client side. Yeah, Next.js and React for the client side. They have a backend, but the only reason why you want to have a backend is because otherwise every action would be super expensive usually, or it would be way more cumbersome. Like databases and backends create a better user experience. This is true. If you want to refresh a page and not log in again, you need a backend. There's no wallet that will do that for you. If you want to, I don't know, mint your NFTs like you do on OpenSea right away, boom, you need a backend. That's called lazy minting. They're not really minting on the blockchain. To actually mint on the blockchain, you need to transfer that NFT. Otherwise, it will be minted after 24 hours or something like that. So all these things that are making a better user experience are not done using the blockchain. They're done using Web2 technologies. And that comes my last point. I'm sorry, but Web3 and Web2 are actually the same freaking thing. Okay. The only difference is that really the only difference is that in Web2, in a Web2 only application, you would install Stripe to handle your payments. In a Web3 application, you would install Ether.js and swap through Ether.js. Okay. Unless you want to create a bank, unless you want to create a decentralized exchange. But that has the same challenges of creating a centralized exchange. The same challenges. It's even worse. You need to be a gigabrain.
Yeah, that's a great advice. But yeah, it was really nice of you to go in depth to sort of show people that there are different things in Web3 that you can do, whether it be handling the back end or the front end, or being a smart contract developer. So what are your top three resources to get started in Web3? Of course, you are not allowed to include Alchemy University.
Okay,
We
yeah,
all
of
know it's the
course
best,
you.
but still.
Of course you. But I would say big shout out to my friend Patrick. He created this 32 hours course about
Oh,
Solidity. It's,
camp one.
it's crazy. I remember when he was creating that, it was like, I'm coming up with something big. I was like, how big can it be? It was huge, like 32 hours course, completely
Yeah.
insane. And you can find it for free on YouTube. Just write Patrick Collins 32 hours and you will see this pop up. Then second one that I use a lot is, I sound kind of repetitive, but because there is not a huge number of content creators in Web3. I would say definitely Nader has a bunch of good tutorials. So Nader Dabit on YouTube, a little bit more advanced, I would say, because it doesn't get into the depth of the code. But that's perfectly fine. If you feel comfortable, definitely follow him. Hashlips, they're a little bit more generic, not just NFTs, sorry, not just Web3. They're also about NFTs, more into NFTs, and a little bit more about AI, so more on trend. But they're really good. Smart contract programmers, big brain. Learn Web3 DAO, amazing courses. They have I don't know how many modules. I think 4 or 5 modules of courses where they'll teach you how to build a decentralized application, a swap thing, and so on. Learn blockchain, Solidity, and full stack. Yeah, that's the course, Hunch. Amazing. And
Amazing.
oh, I think they're asking what is the command to create the app. If you go on your terminal and just run npx space create dash web3 dash dub, this will get you a surprise. That's super alpha. We didn't publish it yet, but the command is there.
Soon, soon.
Yeah,
We'll
very
find out
soon.
soon.
Yeah, actually, like between a call and the other, I'm just wrapping up the docs at the moment. But that's just big alpha. Anyway, yes, learn Web3 DAO, and then there is learn Web3.xyz. Is a gorgeous library of like resources, and then developing and joining the Discord community at Alchemy University. We had the developer DAO.
Yeah.
The developer, oh sorry, developers DAO. Developers DAO is amazing. It's been a while since I hanged up with them, but they're amazing. It's a DAO for developers. I might do a giveaway for one of the
Oh,
passes.
stay tuned, guys. Giveaway coming soon, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Receiving a bunch
okay,
of very
now
interesting questions here.
I know, right? That's what I'm looking through. Like, are Web3 developers going to be replaced by AI? Uh, Definitely not, I would say. Like, there's always going to be some human touch needed, but I'll let Vito handle this one.
Oh, I mean, it depends how long term. Honestly, long term, I think we're definitely superfluous, but like for a bunch of reasons. Okay, like but not because I don't like humanity. I love humanity, but of course, if you want to put it like on an intelligence level, AI will in the long term be more smart. This won't happen during our lifespan for sure. It's too early. Probably it's not just Web3 developers that we're going to be replaced. Probably a lot of types of developers on the long run will be replaced, but there's still need that not fully replaced, but it's like when you think, have you ever watched the Chocolate Factory with Willy Wonka? Do you
Oh yeah,
remember?
Charlie and Chocolate Factory. Yeah.
Yes. Do you remember Charlie's father? What was his
Mhm.
job?
Oh
So his
right, he the
job was
toothpaste factory, of
closing
course.
toothpaste tubes,
Yeah,
right? And then one day the robot came into the factory and he got fired, right?
yeah.
But not everyone. It specifically said it just fired 98% of the people. Now, that's probably one thing that will happen in the future, right? Because that's automation and technology advancements that will work. But there are also many other jobs that will be born, will raise from this revolution, right? And I'm not kidding, but like prompting for AI or like working on AI or working on infrastructures for AI or all these things and project managers and all this like coordination thing will still be there. The only thing that won't be there probably in the far future is pure execution. Pure execution is easy to reproduce. Reasoning and organization is not.
Mm-hmm. Uh, we have another question. How many work hours of Web3 dev to work with you on a project? That's for you, Vito.
How many work
Um,
hours of work we have to? What do you? I'm not sure I'm getting it.
if uh, I would highly suggest checking out the Dev Guild on Alchemy University. They are working on a bunch of cool projects, and yeah, definitely check those guys out. Um, but yeah, like, speaking of work hours, this is reminds me of tutorial hell, right? So what's your best advice to get out of tutorial hell? Because I have seen people jump from courses to courses and just make the courses that are in the course and not do anything else.
That's a very good question again. Tutorial hell is so. What is tutorial hell for those that don't know? Is when you get stuck in watching tutorials over and over again, just like how Ansh just said. Um, that's a situation that it becomes reality because we are scared of walking on our own. It starts when we learn how to walk, right? So the first time you move your first steps, you're just a little toddler and you're swinging around, and then you fall off and you hurt yourself. It's like, I don't want to do this anymore. But you're actually like just a toddler. So you don't really feel pain. And so you do this again. But as you grow up, every time you fall, every time you need to leave your comfort zone, it feels scary, right? And the same happens when you're like doing your tutorials. You're like, oh my God, this works and this also works and this makes perfect sense. I just need to copy. Look at me, I'm coding, and it feels like you're actually doing something, but you're not, because there are a lot of things that you're giving for granted written in that code that you would not give for granted if you were writing your own code, right? So my first suggestion, it sounds super silly, but it's like stop watching a tutorial, or better, watch a tutorial, look at the project, do the project, reproduce it, copy it step by step, and then close the video, close the page you were looking at, and take your old code and try to recreate the tutorial looking at your old code. You will make a tons of mistakes, a ton of them. You will find yourself stuck. You will find yourself not knowing where to turn your head. You will find yourself completely depressed and ready to crash your laptop because you feel like, oh my God, this is not for me. Well, that's exactly what coding wants you to think. Coding is a very bad person that doesn't want you to code at first. Coding doesn't want to be coded, but you need to be there and be struggling day by day and be consistent and just going through this own project. So, sorry, TLDR, I'm just ranting. Take the video or the blog that you just followed and recreate the projects. Then there are amazing lists of things that you can build for beginners. But also, every time you have a problem, how many times you wanted, I don't know, to order something from Amazon right away, or you wanted to save your thoughts, or you wanted to create something that is not there, or you couldn't find it, you just didn't want to Google it, just build it, go through it, become a builder, experiment, build your portfolio, right? And also another thing that I learned that is really, really important is whenever you start learning something, surround yourself with people that are learning the same stuff. Surround yourself with people that are coders. And coding, I remember when my ex-girlfriend was studying psychology, and she was like studying this telematic. In Italy, we call them telematic universities. It's just a remote university, it's online university. And what happened is that the first 6 months she was super depressed, and she was like, oh my god, I don't like it, this is so boring, I don't understand anything, I don't like these tests, I don't like this book, I don't like these words. She didn't like anything because when you're alone, it feels like I have no idea how other people that are walking my same journey are thinking about this. What are their reasonings? What are they getting out of this like piece of text or out of this video? Whereas when you start hanging out, she started hanging out with a couple of friends that were doing the same journey. You feel like, oh my god, this is interesting. We're talking about this thing. Like, hey Anj, what do you think about the conversion of hexadecimal numbers coming from ether.js? How do you convert them? Like, oh, Vitto, I actually use parseint, but then I passed them into math.po and it took me some time. Do you think there are better ways? So that's way more engaging than how to convert numbers from it, right? So surround yourself with people who are learning your same stuff. Be brave, leave your comfort zone, and just build projects. Seriously, it's just on you.
Yeah, this reminds me of our last town hall. Well, Alvaro actually said the best way to learn is by teaching others, and that's a thing that's really stuck by me, because that's actually a great way of learning, and that's how I learn, just by teaching others. Even if you're not teaching others, just repeating yourself in the mirror should do the trick. But yeah, this also reminds me of one of Naruto's tweets. He talked about, and I talked about this with Albert as well, but he said, and I quote, "What I don't understand is why we are building everything that can be on Web 2 on Web 3. Like, while we have some really great projects built, I don't understand the need for most of them. So like, do we really need everything that's on Web 2 on Web 3?
No, absolutely not. And again, sorry if I sounded rude, but no. And I mean, again, if you were at in the space on Tuesday, that was exactly the topic there.
Yeah.
And is no product will become popular and used because it's on Web3. Okay, like users, my mother doesn't care if her social media is on Web3, decentralized, censorship resistance. Like, if I tell my mom, use this social media, censorship resistance, she will look at me and she's like, what is that? I have no idea. I don't care. Okay, I just want to like my friends' pictures. So, and that's very important. So the social media there that will win won't be the social media that is the most decentralized, but the one that will show my mom the pictures of her friends when she wants them to see, what she wants to see them. That's the thing that will win. The decentralized social media will win for the people that only care about censorship resistance. And then at that point, you need to create a product for them, not for everyone, but specifically for them that keeps their privacy, their whatever they want, empowered and valued. And the same for tons of things, right? I've seen the decentralized YouTube. Like, come on, folks. Okay. I mean, if you can build a product that is better than YouTube, do it. Don't focus on the decentralized part. You can add decentralization later on. Okay. Focus on building a product that is better than YouTube, because if you can freaking do it, bro, you just won. You just won the jackpot. And the only things that should be in Web3 and are in Web 2, and they're solving intrinsically a problem, it's DeFi. Not all DeFi, but a DeFi where the yields are actually like reasonable and economically accurate. These kind of DeFi opens opportunities, but most of the others, like decentralized X, want gaming, decentralized gaming. Decentralized gaming is freaking game changer. I don't understand why I'm not playing every day with AAA games that are Web3. That's completely insane. I mean, think about it. I stopped playing World of Warcraft. Sorry, I get super passionate when I talk about these things, but I left World of Warcraft. I was a huge World of Warcraft player. Everything I did started from my 12th when I was 12 years old to my 16 years old was modding on retro servers on World of Warcraft. That was it. That was my life. Waking up at 5 in the morning. Sorry, waking up at 7 in the morning, going to sleep at 5 in the morning, sleeping 2 hours, and writing every single day. Then one day, my brother looks at me straight in the eyes. It was that serious. He looks at me, and was like, "Well, what if one day they close the server and you lose everything?" That's clicked on me completely. I was like, "Oh fuck, I I will lose everything. I wouldn't have anything, like
Yeah.
all of my time. I'm not a G score 9.8 with my Frostmourne. I'm no one at the end of the day. But if you think about Web3 games, then the weapon that you're getting in World of Warcraft can be used in Dota. If you're playing in the other game, that sigil that you can wear it in the other game. So everything becomes like a multiverse. That's the multiverse. The multiverse is not one platform and everyone in that platform that looks like Berlin at 9 in the evening, right? The multiverse is like all of the systems in the world, all the games in the world are interconnected between each other. And if we're playing World of Warcraft, I can ask you, "Yo, do you want to enter that room and play go-kart?" And you'll be like, "Yes." And what go-kart? "Oh, I have this amazing like go-kart skin that I got riding that boss in the other game a few minutes before. Look at that, boom!" And you're wearing your go-kart with like a nice frosty tiger suit thing, right? That's the multiverse. So what was the question? Sorry, at the start. It was
No,
okay.
it's all good.
Was it
We
good?
were actually just discussing. Yeah, we were just discussing. Do we really need everything on
Oh
Web3?
no,
But
sorry.
I
Yeah,
think that I think that
the
sums it
answer
up.
is no. Is no. We
Yeah.
don't. We need solutions to problems, and this
Hmm.
didn't change with
Yep.
Web3. That's what we need. Full stop. If you can
Yep.
solve it with
We discussed
Web3,
more about
thumbs up.
this. Yeah, we discussed more about this on our Twitter space this week. You can check it out on our Twitter, by the way, if you're interested. Um, and I think we are towards our end of the session. I just have one last question for you, Vito.
Mhm.
What do you think is the future for Web3 and its developers?
No, I hate this question. Okay, this is the most unpopular opinion I have. Um, okay, I have two visions. Three visions. One is really good, one is average, one is terrible. So, best case scenario ever is we build, you remember when we were talking about these central control, decentralized control organizations or mechanics
Mhm.
or tools or whatever, and we bring some law and order in the blockchain in a way that my grandma can start actually using these applications, and we understand how to create amazing user experiences and how to convert physical assets into digital assets, and open financial possibilities, opportunities, and purchase opportunities to everyone. And we keep our Ethereum blockchain. Probably that will be the main blockchain used. So I wish Solana will do an amazing job on. I think Solana will do an amazing job on the mobile part. It will do a really
Mhm.
good job, and ultimately, probably they will start collaborating. I don't see the world where we will have multiple blockchains, because otherwise it wouldn't make sense to have the blockchain, right?
Yep.
So or go multi-chain or cross-chain, really depends. But in that case, so we would have these decentralized systems with our node validators and our developers that are developing on these like regulated blockchains regulated by decentralized organizations. With these tools, this will take a shit ton of time because it's like a cultural shift, a society shift completely in many different ways. And also it requires bureaucracies and governments to adapt to all these things and their policies and their technology know-how. So it's kind of complex, I won't lie. And it's kind of the best solution where we see the blockchain becoming what we really expect, and means I can send money to Anj in India without spending 30% in taxes because I just sent him like crypto coins, right? So that would be best case scenario. Then there is a second case, least likable, okay, least like to happen. Second best case scenario is we keep the blockchain as a medium to exchange value, but actually these are two cases, that's it. But the blockchain gets government like englobated by governments, so it becomes a government thing, because at the end of the day, exchanging coins through digital, like through the blockchain, is the best way to do it. That's it. So we can tell whatever we want, but sending cryptos through blockchain is easier than sending fiat currencies for many different ways. So, but of course, it's scary because there is no control. So, what could be the answer is okay, so we're going to spin up our own chain. So, European Union as one chain, US as another
Yeah.
chain, South US as another chain, and all these continents have different chains. Then we can go multi chain and cross chain to communicate with each other. And our value exchange gets done on our chains. So, fuck Ethereum. They will stick as companies, but fuck Ethereum as the globalized money exchange platform, fuck Bitcoin as centralized money exchange platform. Everything, we will have our stable coins on our centralized chains. Fifth possibility, no one understands. That's kind of impossible. So it's like the other extreme of the bell curve. It's like no one realizes that we need to change the way our governments work, because that's not sustainable in many different ways. B, change the way our value exchange systems work, because these are not also, right, it's all convergent to a single point of richness with the actual like mechanics, like economical mechanics that we have. That's not good. Everyone is ignoring it, but it's the same as not good as like pollution anyway. And we don't understand that, and we'll leave everything as it is, and we make, I don't know, the blockchain illegal, for example, or we just make it as a medium to speculate on value. And yeah, and at that point we Gucci, right? That wouldn't work. So I think these are the three possibilities. I really think that a midway between the first one, so full decentralization with centralized organism of control, and more centralized chains owned by governments, or at least where the governments have a big stakeholder power, I would say, are the most likable. Very much not likable the fact that we make the blockchain legal as well as completely decentralized.
Yeah, but yeah, TLDR, blockchain and Web3 are here to stay. So if you
100%.
want to kickstart your journey into Web3, Alchemy University is the place to be. And
Oh
once
my
again,
God, did you
thanks for.
rhyme? If you want to
I
start your
did
journey into
actually. I did
Web3.
so I actually wrote this tweet like months ago, and I still remember it because it rhymed so well. But yeah. Anyway, thanks for jumping in, Vitto. I hope the viewers had a lot to learn. And yeah, and this was, to be very honest, a fanboy moment for me. So yeah, just real thank you for jumping in.
Ansh, it was amazing. Thank you so much for joining the ambassadors program. For those that don't know, Ansh is one of our Alchemy ambassadors. He's doing an amazing job growing the community. He started hosting these live sessions every week. So definitely tune in same time every Friday. And as Ansh said, if you want to kickstart your career into Web3, Alchemy University is the place
This
to
is the
be.
place to be.
I love that.
Awesome. Once again, like we say at Alchemy, peace, love, and Web3, guys.
Peace, love, and Web3. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.